Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred. Thank you for joining me. So back on Monday, I released a new kind of video, which was basically a preview of the week ahead in Raid and a plan for getting the most value out of your time in game. Now that seemed well received, but in the comments section of that video, one of my viewers, DMM Destroyer, said, "Looking forward to your strategy on how to handle the Titan event." Now, I'll be honest, it hadn't really occurred to me to do a Titan event planning video like I typically do for Fusion and Fragment events. And the primary reason was because we don't have a calendar that's released telling us about all of the events that are coming. So it's just harder to make a plan. But in the comments of that same video, other viewers told me that there is in fact a calendar available. And this is not something I knew about. So I'm going to share that calendar with you. And then in today's video, we're going to create a Blademaster Titan event plan, just like we would do for a Fusion event. I've made the comparison before. I said that these are similar events. A Titan event and a Fusion are very similar. But in fact, I think that this Titan event is going to be significantly easier than a typical Fusion. So if you've avoided Fusions before, or maybe Titan events because you think they're too hard, I'm here to tell you that for this particular Titan event, I don't think it's going to be too difficult for everybody, no matter what account level they are at, or how many days you've been playing the game, to get really good value out of this Titan event. The Rathalos souls are out there. There are other rewards. And I'll be honest, the schedule doesn't look overwhelming. So I'm going to share all of that with you in today's video. I hope you're ready for it. Let's get started. Just a quick reminder, I live stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. The next live stream is tomorrow. That's Thursday. I go live usually around 3 p.m., sometimes a little bit later, depending on how crazy my day is. But sometime between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be live here on Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. So come check it out. Should be fun. Also, don't forget to hit the like button for this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and consider joining our Discord community. Thanks so much. Now let's get to the video. Okay, so here I am in the Plarium Play app on my PC. Now, if you don't play on PC, don't worry about it. I'm going to share all of the information with you. But if you do play on PC, you can always come back to the Plarium Play app and get the information that I'm about to show you. Now, I didn't know this was even here. It's something that a couple of viewers let me know about on Monday, and I checked it out. And this is going to be extremely useful moving forward. You can see this is the homepage, right? So here we're on the homepage. If we go over here, there is a little tab, little tiny icon that says Events Calendar. I'd never even seen it before. So if you click on that, it actually gives you a calendar of the events that are ongoing in the game right now. And these actually do scroll outward from this date all the way until the 3rd of March. So the entire Blademaster Titan event is actually planned out right here in the Plarium Play app. I could not find a web-based version of this calendar, so if anybody knows how to get one of those, please let me know. Put it in the comments below. I'll pin it, and that way everybody can get that more easily. But if you are, let's say, a mobile player, or you play on a tablet or something, and you don't have access to Plarium Play, you can come here back to this video and see the entire calendar of events. So this is a pretty great tool. It's not a great tool, but it's a huge improvement over not having a calendar of events. It's an okay tool. You can see it shifts around a lot. It's a little bit visually distracting. I wish it was more customizable, but it will get the job done. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to look through this calendar and we're going to plan our way forward. So I want to show you all of the events that are attached to this Blademaster Titan event. So they're events and tournaments just like for a Fusion. Now we are currently on the 21st of February, you can see this, so we're already a day in, but that's okay because the only event that started before today was the Dungeon Divers event down here. And if you click on any particular event, you can get the full dates here. It doesn't actually give you the times of day. I wish it did, but it'll give you also a list of sort of the rewards that you can expect from, you know, completing the event or the tournament. Okay, so now let's look through the entirety of this Blademaster Titan event. First of all, you want to notice that any event or tournament that is going on for the Blademaster Titan event will have these points, these Blademaster points, as a reward, and they'll always be listed. So if you don't see that, like this Sand Devil turn attack, you can see you don't actually have to click on it. It's not showing the Blademaster points, but if you do click on it, you'll see there are no Blademaster points here, even though it's going on during the Titan event. Okay, so you always want to see this little, you know, diamond points reward, and that'll tell you that that's one of those events. Likewise, down here, the Soulstone Rush doesn't have any points. So if you're not sure, you can click on it. But we're going to go through all of the events and the tournaments right now. So let's just look at the tournaments and the Dungeon Divers events that are going on, because those are always important to line up. So right now we do have a Dungeon Divers event that is going on through Saturday. It looks like it's probably going to be early Saturday morning, so really you want to complete it probably by Friday night. It does look like on this calendar, the position of the bar actually corresponds to the time of day, potentially. So that means that you can kind of look at it and say, okay, if the event completes very early on Sunday, that you know that you're only going to get a few hours there. Whereas if it sticks a little bit further out, you can see this Tag Arena tournament sticks a little bit further out than this Artifact Enhancement. So that might be something like 6 a.m. on that day, and this might be something like, you know, 3 a.m. on that day. Again, remember that your time zones are going to matter. You're going to have to make that adjustment on your own, but you can always look in game to find the actual times when they start, and then you can find the number of days on this calendar and then just do the math in your head or with a pencil and paper or calculator or calendar, whatever you need to use to get that figured out. Okay, so let's look at the Dungeon Divers events and the tournaments. So right now we have a Fire Night tournament going on and a Dungeon Divers event going on. So you can see this Fire Night tournament right here, which goes until the 23rd. And then we have this Dungeon Divers event, which goes until the 24th. There will be a day after this Fire Night tournament is done where the Spider tournament has started and the Dungeon Divers event is still going on. Now, all of the tournaments, all of the dungeon tournaments for this event are turn attack tournaments. You can see this is a Fire Night turn attack, and there will actually be 5 of them, which is unusual. We don't typically have 5 in a fusion event. We typically have 4. But if you go all the way to the end here, it goes Fire Night, then Spider, then Dragon, then Ice Golem, and then you'll see down here at the end, there's a second Fire Night tournament, and it is also a turn attack tournament. So what I'm going to be doing later today is doing a new video, second video on Fire Night turn attack tournaments. And hopefully that'll help you out because there's one ongoing now, and then there'll be one at the end of the Titan event. Now, I hope to get it out today, but if I can't get it out today, it will be out tomorrow, so watch for that video. All right, now the second Dungeon Divers event starts on Monday the 26th. You can see it starts probably pretty early in the morning, which means that this Dragon tournament overlaps with that Dungeon Divers event, but not the first one. So if we are planning out our double dips, right, trying to get the most bang for our buck, especially in terms of energy and resources, we want to wait on the Dungeon Divers event. I'm sorry, we don't want to wait on the Dungeon Divers event. We want to complete all of the Fire Night and Spider tournaments in the first Dungeon Divers event. So that first day that Spider pops, you want to hit that really hard, because based on the amount of energy that we need to put into a fusion, typically this would be about 2,000 energy per tournament and 5,000 energy per Dungeon Divers event. So if we could get all 4,000 energy into that Dungeon Divers event, then you have the least waste, right? Then you only need another 1,000 energy to complete the Dungeon Divers event. Now the point totals are going to be different because it's a turn attack tournament. So the energy requirements are going to be different. And also you're not always going for like the maximum reward in all of these tournaments and these events. So you're going to have to plan it out specifically when you see the point totals in game. I'm going to be able to do this Fire Night tournament for about 800 energy instead of 2,000 energy. But the Dungeon Divers event is a typical Dungeon Divers event. So one of these tournaments, I'm going to have to put a lot more energy into than I need just to get the points if I'm going to go for the Dungeon Divers event. Now, I may not need to go for the Dungeon Divers event. We're also going to talk about that in a little bit. But you could plan to do both of these tournaments' energy inside this Dungeon Divers event, and then do the next 3 tournaments inside the next Dungeon Divers event. You would get the Dragon tournament, the Ice Golem tournament, and then if you hit the Fire Night tournament for the first day really hard, you could potentially get those to line up with the Dungeon Divers event. So 2 dungeon tournaments for the first Dungeon Divers, 3 dungeon tournaments for the second Dungeon Divers, if you choose to do the Dungeon Divers event. And again, we'll figure that out in a moment. Now, in addition to that, we do have one shard event. That is a Summon Rush event that is going on starting this Friday, and it will go on for this weekend. There is no 2x event this Friday. It is a Summon Rush event, so it doesn't matter what champions you hit. It just matters what shards you pull. It's not a champion chase. You can't use fragment champions, unfortunately. So it's just about shards, and I know you may be all out of shards, but you may not need this event at all. So if you are a relatively newer player or you're free to play and you're just worried that you're not going to be able to do the Summon Rush, don't worry. This is actually entirely skippable. The point totals for the entire event, there's 1,700 points available. You need 1,500 points to get all of the rewards, but you only need 1,000 points to get the 4-star Rathalos soul. That's the biggest soul that you can get in the event. So if you are looking at the 4-star soul as the grand prize, the good news is you can give away 700 points. Now, I expect to see this Summon Rush be somewhere between 200 and 300 points, and therefore you could give away the entire thing if you're not trying to go for the 1,500 point full clear. If you are going for the 1,500 point full clear, you'll probably need to get at least some of the points in the Summon Rush. Now, if we take a look at the rest of the events, we do have a Tag Arena tournament here that is not part of the overall Titan event, but I just wanted to point it out because there's going to be some energy available. There's going to be a shard there. There's going to be some gems, and you have to do your Tag Arena anyway. It's not extra resources to do it. So I would actually highly recommend that you complete your Tag Arena tournament for the extra resources. That's going to make the whole thing a little bit easier. But as for the actual part, you know, the components of the Titan event itself, we do have 2 classic arena takedowns. You can see we have, let's see, an artifact enhancement event starts here on the 22nd. Today is the 21st, so that's tomorrow. We do have a champion training that starts tomorrow as well. That's going to be a little bit tricky. That's a big one. It is 4 days, and we are pretty much burned out with the champion training. But remember that this also has a reward of the Monster Hunter Archer character. I could never say her name, near Gigante or whatever it happens to be. She's a fantastic champion, but only the winner of the tournament will actually get the legendary champion. So if you're just going for the points there, it shouldn't be too tricky. But if you are actually going for the champion or the 6-star soul that you can get from her, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a Kraken event. People are going to be going nuts on that. So I wouldn't over-invest there if the Rathalos souls are your primary goal. If this is your primary goal, then go ham. Have fun. I'm going to be avoiding this. I'm just basically going to pick up my points and leave the rest alone. We do have that classic arena tournament, and then we have a second one that starts later on. We also have 2 artifact enhancement events and a second champion training. So as far as the overall scope of things is concerned, it looks a lot like a regular fusion event, except for one major change, which is we get 1 additional Fire Knight turn attack tournament instead of a champion chase. That feels pretty friendly to me. That actually feels pretty friendly to me. I also think because they're turn attack tournaments, the energy requirements will be a little bit lower. So now let's actually jump into game and look at some of the point totals so we can start to plan out which of these events we absolutely need to do and which ones we can actually maybe skip and still get that 4-star soul. Okay, so here we are on the Titan event page itself. And as you can see, right, it has the whole reward track here, and it even has a timer up there. You can see 1 week and 4 days. It counts how many points you've actually gotten. So at 100 points, you're going to get that first Blademaster, that Rathalos soul, right? That 1-star soul. This is something that everybody should be able to get relatively quickly, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Then the next soul is available at 300 points. You can see on the way there, there's a Mortal Soul Stone, there's an Ancient Shard. Nothing really great on this page, but for newer players, you know, the Ancient Shard is definitely worthwhile, as are the Mortal Soul Coins and the Mortal Soul Stone. Even the multi-battles will be helpful. Milestone 3, a little bit better rewards. I think the big rewards here actually come down here at the rank 4 chicken and the epic skill tome. The chaos ore is fine. That's not a bad thing. More multi-battle attempts. And so the 3-star souls is only at 600 points. Remember, there are 1,700 total points available. And now if we go to milestone 4, here the rewards really start to get very good, especially for newer players. You can get a 6-star haste glyph, which is absolutely fantastic, a void shard, some chaos dust, immortal soul stone, and more. In this case, 6-star legendary chaos ore, and then the 4-star split soul. Now, 1,000 points is roughly, I don't know, maybe 60% of the total points that are available in this Titan event. So if you think about that compared to a fusion where you really can't miss very much, maybe you can miss 5 or 10% of the rewards. Here you can actually skip 40% of the rewards and still complete the 4-star soul. Now, if you want the 5-star soul, there are good rewards here. The primal shard is excellent, more chaos powder, a 5-star chicken XP barrel, mythical chaos ore, which is nothing to sneeze at, a mythical skill tome, which I would love, an eternal soul stone, which you almost never get. So all of these are also great rewards. Now, it might be trickier for newer players to get this 5th page, but that's okay. If you can't, even if you get to the primal shard or the 5-star chicken, that would be awesome. So if you wanted to make like the 5-star chicken your goal, remember you can still give away 400 points there. So knowing how many points you can give away and then tracking that as you are moving throughout this Titan event, that's going to be really important regardless of how advanced your account is. Don't just do this blindly. Keep track. Keep track. We have that calendar. Keep track of the points that you're getting and the ones you're giving away so you know how far you can get. Okay, just a quick reminder, if you are on the events page or the tournament page, the relevant events and tournaments will have this pink banner up that says Blademaster Titan Event. So anything that doesn't have that banner up does not give you Blademaster points. You can actually see it says earn Blademaster points. So when an event pops, you want to go ahead and look at it and see where the point totals are so you can plan how much energy you need to invest. So this is a Dungeon Divers event. And first of all, if you haven't done one of these before or you're just trying to better plan them, come down here to this chart down here, and this will tell you how many event points you're going to get based on what you receive. So if you're farming mostly 4 and 5-star gear and say you're getting mostly rare and epics, you're looking at about 10 points per drop. So you can calculate that based on energy, and you can say, okay, if I want to get, say, all of the points, I need 4,350 points. That means I need 435 drops. So that may be a lot. However, if you are, more up at, say, stage 20 or 25, or even in hard mode, and maybe you're getting a lot of epics and 6-star gear, and maybe now your average is more like 14 or 15 points, then again, you can just divide that by the energy and figure out how many runs you actually need to do to get these Blademaster points. Now, again, you could skip this 100 Blademaster points. You may not need that. You may only need the first 100 that are here in Dungeon Divers. Remember, you are going to be doing the Fire Knight turn attack, and then I think the next one is Spider. So the Spider turn attack as well. So figure out how much energy at a minimum you're going to be putting into those 2 tournaments, and then that will tell you at least what your minimum likelihood or your minimum result is here on the Dungeon Divers event, and then you can add any additional energy that you need. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a tournament like the Fire Knight tournament that is ongoing right now, so we can kind of do that comparison in real time. So here we're going to look at the tournaments tab. Okay, so here we are on the Fire Knight turn attack page, and you can see that the Titan points are available at 2,650 tournament points. So I need 2,650 tournament points. That should be my main goal. I can continue to invest more energy if I want these other rewards, or if I want to try to go for, the top places in the tournament. But let's look at it just as a minimum. So for 2,650 points, we get our Titan points. That's what we want. We want that for every single tournament. I expect the point totals to be exactly the same for all 5 tournaments. So what I can do is I can just calculate that. I know that I am farming stage 4, I believe, of hard mode. That's what I'm doing. And that's netting me 90 points on 40 energy because I am using the super raid. So for 40 points, for 40 energy, I'm getting 90 points. So I'm getting 2.25 points per energy. So that means I'm probably going to need somewhere in the vicinity of 1,300 energy, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on the RNG. So somewhere around 1,300 energy is going to complete this for me. Now, it may be more for you. You should do that calculation and figure out how much energy it's going to take you. The energy requirement will be different for each tournament. That's not the way it happens during a fusion event. Really, the energy is the same there based on like if you can farm stage 20 or stage 16 or stage whatever. But here it's likely to be different because some of your teams are going to complete the dungeon in far fewer turns than in other dungeons. So you're going to have to calculate this every time. But like I said, for me, it looks like it's about 1,300 energy. That's probably pretty good. So if you can do this for 1,500 energy or even 2,000 energy, that might not be too bad. but hopefully you can do it for a little bit less. So now I do know that I'm going to have to pour a lot more energy into Dungeon Divers at some point, because the 3,000 or so energy that I'm going to put into these 2 tournaments will not be enough to complete my Dungeon Divers if I'm going for the full 200 points or 300 points that are available there. Yeah, okay, so I came back here just to check. It is 200 points. So now let's talk about the point totals based on our goals. Remember that 1,000 points is the 4-star Rathalos soul. Let's make that the big reward and calculate what we need to do in this Titan event to make that happen. Okay, so we're back here on that calendar, and we're thinking we can give away 700 points and still get that soul. So the champion training tournament is likely to be 200 points. The Dungeon Divers event, we already know, is 200 points. So that's going to be 800 points there. And then I expect the Summon Rush to be 200 points. So that's probably going to be 1,000 points amongst those 5 events. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not 100% sure that that's what's going to happen, but we've got 50 points from each of the dungeon tournaments. So that's another 250. That would take us up to 1,250. Then we have the 2 classic arena takedowns. If we call that 50 each, that's going to take us up to 1,350. We have the artifact enhancement events. I expect that to be a little bit more. That's probably going to be at least 100 each. That would take us up to 1,550. And then we need, let's see, another 150 points somewhere. So I'm not exactly sure where those are going to come from. It might be a mix of champion training. It might be a mix of, you know, maybe a few more points somewhere else. The second Dungeon Divers is longer than the first. It's an extra day, so it might be extra points there. Maybe that will be 300 points as opposed to 200 points. So that could be where the extra goes in. But again, like I said, 50 points per dungeon tournament. And then we already know that this Dungeon Divers is 200 points. So if we can give away 700 points, let's start with the Summon Rush. We probably want to skip the Summon Rush if we're free-to-play players, or anybody. If you're not going for the full 1,500 point clear, you probably don't want to do the Summon Rush at all. If the Summon Rush event is 300 points and you are going for the full clear, you'll have to do at least some of the points there. If you are going, let's call that 300 points, that means we can skip 2 200-point events. Dungeon Divers is not really a great skip because you're already doing all of the tournaments. So I would say you want to complete at least half of the Dungeon Divers points anyway. You might not go for the final 100, but you're going to get at least 100 out of each Dungeon Divers event. So let's say we only did 100 points out of each Dungeon Divers event. That's giving away 200 points there, maybe 300. So if we're giving away the Summon Rush, say worst case scenario, we're already giving away 600 points. And so then we only have 100 points left to give away to still get that 4-star soul. So imagine that you're giving away 100 points from each Dungeon Divers. You're giving the full Summon Rush event away. Now maybe you can pull back on 1 artifact enhancement or 1 champion training. I would complete the Classic Arena Takedown Tournament. You want to do that. And I would complete all of the dungeon tournaments. I don't think those will be difficult. I think those will be the easiest. So you can see that we do have a lot of leeway. You don't need to use a single shard to get your 4-star soul, which is great. You may want to pull during that Summon Rush if you're trying to go for the full clear, or you just have a lot of shards and you feel like pulling anyway. Save it for this weekend. Maybe those points will be split up and you could pick up 100 points from the Summon Rush as well, which will give you some more flexibility later on. If you are going for the full 1,500 point clear, I would say right now you want to complete every event and look for the flexibility of those 200 points in the second half. Definitely with the Summon Rush, then maybe with the second Dungeon Divers or the second Champion Training event. Okay, just one last piece of advice here. I would say that if you are a newer player, focus really hard on getting your first 100 points because that first soul is so valuable on Rathalos. And also even the second soul is going to be really valuable on Rathalos. You do want those first souls really early because it's actually going to help you complete all of the other events. So the stronger your Rathalos is, the easier the event is, and the more you complete the event, the stronger your Rathalos gets. It's a nice little positive reinforcement cycle going on there to help you out if you're a newer player. Now, I will say this, although there's value in all of the souls, if you can get the 4-star soul, I would really highly recommend getting the 4-star soul, even if you have to stretch, but especially if you're a newer player. This is an incredibly powerful soul for Rathalos, and I'm going to show you why. All right, so you can take any champion and just look at their blessing, and it doesn't matter what blessing you look at, you'll notice that the 4-star soul gives 38% crit damage for legendary champions. Now, you will get the attack at the 2-star soul. You obviously get the effects for the blessing at 1 and 3 stars, but the 4-star soul is going to give you that extra 38% crit damage on Rathalos. That's going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely a power spike for that champion. So if you can get the 4-star soul, even if you have to stretch a bit, I highly recommend it. This 4-star soul may be more valuable to you than, for instance, completing the next fusion. We have no idea what that fusion is going to look like, and we do know that everybody has Rathalos. So consider carefully what you have to do to make this 4-star soul happen. But like I said, this is sort of like a little bit of a reduced burden from a regular fragment or fusion event. So you should be able to complete this more easily than a fusion event. If you can't get this 4-star soul, you're not likely to be able to complete the next fusion anyway. And so, like I said, go for this 4-star soul if you can. Okay, so that is it for this Blademaster Titan event planning video. I know it was a little bit chaotic. I apologize for that. I will get better at these videos as I do more of them, but I hope you found the video helpful and you have some information here that can help you succeed at this Titan event. Go out and get your 4-star souls. Definitely let me know in the comments below if this was a helpful video, if you have any questions about the Titan event, or if I missed anything in terms of presenting the information needed. Also, don't forget you can come back and rewatch this video if you don't have access to that calendar in Plarium Play. But if you do, you can go check it out, spend a little bit of time with it. It's going to help you plan. Okay, that is it for me. I have been Colred. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you in another video soon.